Gale Force eSports up 1 game in the series so far. Tempo Storm is chosen first pick for the next game. So Gale Force eSports is taking us to Cursed Hollow. And I have to say, that seems risky, Dread, because Tempo Storm are 5-0 on Cursed so far.
It's a bit of a, risk. We'll see how it pays out here into the draft. The draft's going to be a lot of it. That being said, we knew that these teams have roughly the same map priority across the board, really. So I think you have to cross at some point. Why not after a win? Maybe, could be the thoughts there. Be willing to take the riskier maps a little bit early on to the series. Don't wait till later, especially after the win. We'll see how it pays out, though. For now, globals have been the focus. Brightwing banned out for Tempo Storm. Gale Force ridding of the Tassadar after they proceeded to Archon all over Tempo Storm last game. And Falstad's going to be the first pick.
Yeah, Tempo knows that Gale Force eSports love the style of having Falstad and Brightwing on Cursed Hollow as well as Towers of Doom. So they're just going to nip that in the bud and grab Falstad, taking Brightwing away too. But Dahaka is still up, as is ETC, and both of those will get taken by Gale Force. This is hilarious.
I love Gale Force eSports. Just the fact that they're one of the few teams that picked Dahaka. As high as they do. That being said, the support choke has adjusted a little bit of their draft and why we see that priority so highly there. But in fact, it is going to be Dahaka and ETC rotation, sacrificing a lot in the damage department. That rotation is one that I do expect Tempo Storm to be able to effectively punish here when it comes to their next 2 picks and bans, because that was very risky to go into Double Warrior.
Malphzera is exactly what I wanted to see, and that's exactly what Tempo Storm is giving us now. The Zeratul comes out. Gale Force eSports, can you give some a loss on Zeratul? Because I don't know if anybody's going to at this point. 8 out of 8 games, that's pretty great. And
they ban out the Li Ming, their fear of the Li Ming Zeratul over maybe the Diablo. I doubt we see Gale Force move into a triple warrior draft. So that is going to allow that to be an option for Tempo Storm with that with the Zeratul. So much boss control on the side of Tempo Storm into their draft so far. Again, that rotation that we see out of Gale Force, no, I always love me some Dahaka. It was very risky to move into Double Warrior this early on, especially with so much focus onto some of the other roles and value of strategies when it comes to like Falstad and things of the like between these two teams. Tempo, what do they want to remove? It's really, whatever they want. Do they think the banning out another support is going to be better? Do they think forcing the Karzim is going to be the answer here? They can do that by banning out the Rhaegar in this rotation. I think I like the idea of removing damage. I don't know if maybe Rhaegar would provide that much into a Double Warrior. Rhaegar is going to provide a lot more than Karzim would, specifically. So maybe that ban is actually the best one here.
Well, they have 8 seconds to figure it out. And then Gale Force eSports will have their next 2 picks. They have at least a little bit of global. Karzim was the ban. It is one that Tempo has favored on Cursed Hollow too. That might be one that is across the board between the two of them, being the fact that they do scrim each other so much. Yeah, that is... it's really interesting to see, because it should not gain, unless they're afraid of the 7-sided strike pairing and just, mega wombo combo, or maybe... for some reason, the cleansing at 16, having multiple cleanses here, I don't feel like that is going to be the focus. They do have the option to obviously move into the Varian later on, which we've seen some teams respond with the Karzim, but I can't help but feel like Rhaegar into the heavy melees is always going to be a better pick than Karzim, even if you move into Palm. It doesn't gain the value, except for a dream idealistic insight build is the only way you really can make up for that. That is a very tanky Gale Force eSports. Yeah, it is. Okay, Tempo. Four flexes in a support, now it's 4 warriors in a support. Yeah, exactly. Who's that last warrior going to be? Tyrael. Arthas. Could be. A Noobarak. We haven't had a noob yet. Europe gets all the fun of noobs. They all, and Arthas. They get all the Arthas, too. What the heck? Now, though, into this draft, I think it's going to be the Varian. The question is, what is the other pick here? What backliner do they want, or do they want to run a double warrior? Ragnaros. Yes, there it is. Ragnaros with Zeratul pairing. Now it might be Diablo. Diablo, yep. Diablo, I love this draft so much. This is a huge wombo combo. But, okay, the thing to note, Gale Force knew this. Gale Force knew this before the draft started, right? There's no... Malfurion, Zeratul, Ragnaros, Diablo has been some of the highest prioritized... it's not even a trio at this point, the fact that there's 4, but some variation of those, and they managed to get all 4 of them. And Gale Force let that happen. They had the opportunity to ban it out. So Gale Force obviously understands what they were getting themselves into, and they think they have the answer here with this draft. The triple warrior, support,
Sergeant Hammer.
I would definitely agree, especially with how fast they made their picks.
Yeah,
they understood where things were going. They think that they have the answer. But is Sergeant Hammer the answer?
I think the argument might be a little bit more of, well, you have this cool wombo combo, but what if we don't die in the process? That being said, that many melees, very easy to avoid, and a Twilight Dream is enough to make sure that I don't care how much HP you have, the fact you can't cast a spell is enough to make it to where you can't turn that fight the opposite direction. So I do think the pressure applied early on is going to be huge for Gale Force eSports. They need to make sure, they need to treat Hammer like a Sylve back in the day. Just get structure on structure on structure. When Falstead's looking to split push, running the tri-lane, be willing to sacrifice those tributes maybe a little bit on their own, focus more onto the macro game, because that burst team fighting is a hard composition to deal with.
Yeah, it seems like it'll be very likely that Gale Force eSports moves into a 1-1-3, having Dahaka somewhere he could burrow or brush talk in if he really needs to. He'll probably be, I don't know, one-on-one with somebody, maybe Falstead from Tempo Storm. That laning setup is going to be key, though. We're ready for game number 2 between Tempo Storm and Gale Force eSports. We'll see you on the Cursed Hollow. Or is it in the Cursed Hollow?
I don't know. It's on, in, around, near.
Inside.
I like near. I like near.
Near's good.
Near the Cursed Hollow.
Above.
Either way, though, this hammer pick, this draft. Tempo Storm, no offense, Tempo Storm, but you've picked a draft that we have seen time and time again, so I'm putting more focus here onto GFE. They have just peel for Hammer, but I don't know if I don't know if there's enough damage output on the side of Hammer to really justify this, and so vulnerable to all the tools on the side of Tempo Storm here. Excuse me, Zarya there for the shields, having, you know, Akaface there to be able to provide support with the Rhaegar itself, but overall, I can't help but wish there was another DPS to join the Hammer. I love me some Hammer, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't feel like a triple warrior and Hammer is maybe the solution.
What about Bloodlust Hammer?
Not enough still. I like the idea of it. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be able to provide enough to the game itself, though. Tempo Storm, very early on, getting more structures here. Crone actually burnt his power slide, so he's going to meet the wall of Tempo Storm, and he's not making it out. He, in fact, is going to be first blood here for Tempo Storm and a front wall.
Tempo Storm built a wall with their bodies. Cattle is the one who has to get sitting down in the bottom lane versus Gale Force eSports. Will be Ragnaros versus Dahaka in the top lane. And somebody probably is going to move down here to help out Cattle. I can't imagine that they would continue to let this push happen, but actually there's going to be 3 pushing in the top lane. So Tempo Storm are just going to try to trade out as much as they can, saying, we'll keep Falstead as long as we can. He's got that long range with hammering, and he can stay pretty safe with barrel roll, and we'll just push, siege, whatever we possibly can to keep up in experience and in structures.
Yeah, I think this siege is going to be more beneficial for Tempo Storm in the department of experience. The front walls, the front turrets are going to add up. That's exactly 2/3 of what that fort is going to be worth overall in just raw experience. And it should be able to make up with it with 2 of them over their opponents. The difference is that the bottom fort falling, though, is going to be in the boss lane for Gale Force eSports.
Exactly.
And that is where it becomes a minor advantage in their direction.
Yeah, the fact that they can get that, and it's their safe boss, too, and have that pushing means that if Tempo Storm go for just a regular old boss trade, then they're going to have to defend versus that. That lets Gale Force eSports potentially have a little bit more of a say of who gets their tributes. Here comes the drag. Crone's going to push him back, too, into the fort. Coffin's doing what he can. Does he have his movement speed? Has it already been burnt?
He's going to be going
It's already down. So Ragnaros be the first kill for Gale Force here.
And good peel there in the mid lane. The initiation that happened, Gale Force was able to survive. I was worried for a moment, seeing Fan posted up on the block, ready to shoot at everybody that was coming his way. And then suddenly Azeratul Diablo was there, but he was able to survive. Good peels from Aka and Udal. Giants are going to be started here now for Tempo Storm, as the map objective is going to be spawning here in the next 15 seconds. The latest is, I think it's 2:55 is the latest possible timing. There's a little bit of RNG. It's going to be on the bottom, though, here. So Global, no advantage for either Global in the fact that it is spawned directly next to them.
I talked to Fury about his build because he, when playing Diablo, likes to pick Bulwark at level 1 instead of Devil's Due, and he said it was mainly because this has been such a focus on the warrior, focus on the tank, the frontliner style of meta so far, that he likes it there because once he does Shadow Charge in, especially with From the Shadows, our favorite talent here in a HGC, he does get 2 extra seconds of the resistance, the armor that you get from Shadow Charge, instead of having Devil's Due. So instead of getting that increased healing from your region globes.
Sol now is going to be backing out with Tempo Storm, focusing on the macro game. Gale Force eSports, though, has managed to, not only pick up the tribute, but their experience advantage over Tempo has done very, very well. This is something that I think is a little scary for Tempo Storm because they're so used to getting this early lead, right? And not only are they losing in tributes, they're losing in just raw structures. And GFE and Fan specifically is doing such, oh man, the Roots comes out, Cattle flew down. No fear is going to be Fan as he did not flinch. He's just going to continue to shoot away. But what I was saying is the talking about using this as the Sylph, getting the pressure around the map as best as they can. Gale Force eSports here has obviously put a lot of consideration on how they want to approach it.
Fan has resistant too, so even when he is in the situation that he's in, when he is in siege mode, if he gets stunned or rooted, which there are plenty in Tempo Storm's favor, then he gets the 50% armor, which is 50 armor is a lot. However, he was trying to run away when he got charged in. So the difference from that is he will go down. 1-for-1 trade, though, still favorable for Gale Force eSports because they're in a position to be able to get the tribute. And Fury was blocked for so long that this is going to be two tributes right off the bat for Gale Force. Yeah, and the defense and shielding there from Mike Udall to be able to deal with, saving Hammer from the auto attack Falstad and Zeratul is a really interesting pickup there as a level 4 talent. I like it a lot. We'll see if they get value out of it. The 2 tributes, though, experience advantage. Gale Force eSports, one thing I've noted from their playstyle, whenever they get up against, some of the, I guess I'll put it as more bigger names or at least more established names in the North American scene, they seem to be a lot more calculated, that they put a lot of emphasis in that matchup specifically. It's already showing in game 1, the draft, how they played it, this one as well, the creativity coming behind it, but then also just, they know what their opponent likes to do. How can we dismantle that as best as possible? It's very impressive from them. I agree. Even down to that defensive shielding, knowing that Tempo Storm has been solely running the seasoned marksman build for Falstad. Yeah, and that's actually a really interesting talking point too, is, when is auto attack Falstad versus, caster Falstad. Historically, when looking at international play around the world at any, kind of global championship that we've had, it's usually when you're a solo or in scenarios where they already have a caster like a Li Ming and then suddenly you need that sustained DPS. But in North America now, it seems to be that trend where it's like, it's always going to be split soaking and it's always going to be auto attack build. And, maybe Gale Force is looking to be able to punish that here with that adjustment in the build. Tribute spawning on top though. Bosses were taken respectively. 10 is going to be picked up for GFE here. And they're going to be sieging on the bottom, giving up this tribute. It's a tough spot for Tempo Storm, but the nice thing was the random spawn of that tribute because this push is going to be big. Cattle's doing what he can in the mid to get 10. Okay, so this is actually a really interesting moment. So Gale Force has a huge sieging composition, but one flight from Falstad into Molten Core and they will single-handedly just get obliterated. And so sieging is very scary into the composition of Tempo Storm. So we'll see what Gale Force does. They have to tread lightly as they move up towards this keep because it very quickly could be. There's a fight. There's the Molten Core. No Gust Arena. Oh, he's just going to be caught there. Finally, the Gust goes in. Gale Force eSports has Fan right in the middle of it, but he does thruster and first aid his way into the Void Prison, but the follow-up Sulfuris Smash and Twilight Dream is actually going to be the end of June. Instead, Malfurion goes in for that Twilight Dream and ends up dropping. It'll be a 1-for-1 on the supports, but it's the members of Gale Force eSports who are way more healthy. Fan is continually just wailing on the keep. Diablo will go down. Do they go core? They can't win the game right now, but it might be worth just trading that damage. I don't know if they have enough siege potential to be able to get away with that. Yeah, and the death timers are a little bit too short. That is a play that you can see this early into the game, especially on maps like Cursed Hollow. And Gale Force eSports have done it before. Yeah, it's a one I love that trade-off whenever it's well calculated, and that wasn't the most optimal situation, so very patient play from GFE, and beautiful response to the exact power play I was so afraid of there. And, one thing to note is we did have a Lightning Breath. Yep. Not what I expected. I thought you'd be excited. I'm a huge advocate for Lightning Breath, but to be honest, when I have a Void Prison, it's about a 99.99, that's never stopping nines, probability. Repeating, of course. Repeating. What are the chances of survival? Leroy Jenkins here. There's going to be the Gust. There's the Gust. Lightning Breath follow-up too. Fan is in such a tough spot, but he's trying to booster his way out. Cattle is flanking from the side, gets a kill on Sergeant Hammer. It's a 1-for-1. Ragnaros goes down, so does Zeratul. Cattle has to barrel roll over the wall. and still the trade outs will favor Gale Force eSports.
I mean, I get the idea here on the side of Tempo Storm with their draft. It's just gust directly into Lightning Breath. Like, how are they going to be able to deal with that? But again, it's just put it into a position to where is the longest or one of the easiest CCs to be able to hit in the game with the Void on multiple targets better or worse? I think the argument might be they didn't have enough burst, so they're going to make up for it into the Triple Warrior. But either way, Gale Force is just plowing through the composition of Tempo Storm so far into this game. Their calculated rotations, decision-making, talent choices even, everything here by GFE looks like they've really been able to level up their play. 13 talents here, bottom keep down, Curse moving in. Tempo Storm's got to find an answer here.
For those of you guys wondering why the heck Lightning Breath would be picked here, is we did switch to the Valera patch, and it was changed there. It turns faster, whereas that has always kind of been the problem, is trying to make sure that you are facing the right way and turning if you are not. Here comes the Siege. Follow quickly the Gust once again into Molten Core. There's the Molten Swing, but it's Falstad again who just dies. Equinox focuses on him right away. He gets taken out. Here comes Sulfurous Splash, lands on 3 along with Explosive Rune. That's a lot of good damage from Kothet, but he's the one who now is in the tough spot because of the stage dive from Crowan. Crowan catches him. Ragnaros goes down. There are 3 people dead for Tempo Storm. It is a low health respawn timer until they have Falstad back, but he doesn't have Gust. Zerat will be back, doesn't have Void. Gale Force eSports are going for the core dread.
They are, and Diablo was able to overpower, though, Fan out of the position, so now everybody turned to be able to get the kill on the Fury. He's got his passive, so he'll be back with the Souls. 46% when it comes to the core here. Gus is not up for 18, 25, 20. It is going to be going down. 9 minutes and 56 seconds. Gale Force eSports takes the series already 2-0 over Tempo. 1 game away. Those are just instant games. So well thought out.
The first loss for Tempo Storm on Curse Hollow, too.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I called for the replay. We're going to take a look at it. Look at Fan. Look at this draft and this composition with this initiation. Fan sieges up and proceeds to just not move. The entire time. He is just, nobody can kill him. They open with a Void. They Gus. He doesn't move. The entire time. Stunned. He's the only focus in between Crowan and the shielding talents and the expulsion zone.
And resistant.
They built this comp purely around Fan, and you could see Tempo Storm, they did not know what hit them. Every initiation, Fan is just, he's sitting out and he's like, hey, what's up, guys? And he's just doing hammer things, and they were gonna take a under 10-minute game.
Again, that resistant talent was huge for Fan 2. There were so many different stuns, and Roots, Malfurion, to be able to catch him, and that just gives him the 50 armor for a few seconds so that he can continue to siege just like that. After the Gust, even he gets gusted, nothing, does not care.
The team was there to be able to peel for him, but then also the adjustment in their talents to be able to make sure that it was as difficult as possible. And often when I make remarks about, minimizing what your opponent's composition is good at and maximizing it, that was exactly what we've seen 2 games in a row on the side of Gale Force eSports. Heavy thought into their drafts, heavy thought into their talent choices. I mean, it's a rare sight, and it's so awesome to see this. And the fact that they've already gotten this lead over Tempo.
Exactly.
It's insane.
We have to see now if Tempo Storm has the answers for Gale Force eSports, and we'll see just that right after this.
I was once a far strider. I swore an oath to defend Silvermoon and its people to my dying breath. It was not enough. My homeland still burned. But those days are long past. And history will not repeat itself. I am Sylvanas Windrunner, Queen of the Forsaken. And if you will not serve me in this life, then you will do so in the next.
said that I hunt alone, wandering these bitter lands, far from civilization. But in truth, I hunt with family. One that I hold close. I protect them, and they protect me. I am Rexar, champion of the Horde. And I never hunt alone.